Okay, so this is podcast episode 1.
Episode 1, welcome to Mockpod.
Mockpod, that's right. Mockpod. And we're going to hopefully have a chat about different things. You have anything to add there before our celebratory first glass of whiskey?
No.
Okay.
Do you think we should introduce ourselves? Do people need to know who we are?
Adrian.
Hi, I'm Adrian.
And I'm Jeff.
This is my brother Jeff.
And so we're two brothers and a microphone.
Born and bred in Sydney, Australia.
We both come from teaching backgrounds. Okay.
Alright.
Nostrovia.
Nostrovia.
Okay.
Do you think that's a pretty weird toast to give, considering we're having whiskey? Do you think we should have said something perhaps Irish or something?
No, it's fine. Cheers is cheers in any language, I guess.
Cheers is cheers.
You can say slancha if you like.
Hmm.
You want to comment on the type of whiskey we're having?
Well, we're having a Highland single malt.
It's delicious, by the way.
It's pretty good. It's been sitting out for a little while and it's had a nice big block of ice on it, so it's quite delicious.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that a friend recommended to me was, you should talk about a bit of travel. And I just thought, to start off with, we might talk about the Camino Trail. So what's your knowledge about the Camino Trail?
The Camino Trail. I know somebody at my previous work who went on this trail. She busted herself up for months. And I think it took her months to recover from this journey. But she loved it. She said it was absolutely phenomenal.
Trails did she do?
She did the one that I think she was trekking for something in the order of like 2 months or something like that. And I think when you look at the kilometers, it's something extraordinary. It's like, I don't know. I've got two numbers in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 600 Ks and I've got 2,000 Ks. Am I close with one of those?
Well, a friend of mine did it for 38 walking days, and she covered 1,200 kilometers.
Oh.
So,
was your friend fit? This girl from work was pretty fit, but not
pretty
like
fit.
super fit.
Yeah, pretty fit. Often, it's recommended that a person averages about 24 kilometers a day. The reason it's come to be of interest to me is obviously I want to do it, but it's subject of a film called The Way. Have you heard of The Way?
The Way. Is this a new film?
2010.
No.
It's directed by Emilio Estevez.
Really?
And it stars his father, Martin.
Oh,
yeah.
I do love Emilio.
Yeah, so if you like The West Wing, I think he was in The West Wing, wasn't he, Martin Sheen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's a great film. It really, got me interested. And then I went back and looked at my friend's blog.
So was this a historical film about the origins of this trail, or was it like
no, I think it's a fictional film about it's based on a book by Jack Hitt. And it's got about like 7.4 on the IMDb rating, so it's pretty. I
don't know how much we trust the IMDb rating, but I was looking at after we watched Alien Covenant last night. I looked at IMDb. It's got like, well, what do you think it's got
for the rating?
Yeah,
6.4.
Oh, you saw it?
No,
you're very close. It's 6.8.
Oh, really?
Something like that.
I'm surprised.
I was surprised too. I was like, surely this thing would have scored above 7, but I guess these days people look at those meta-analysis sites like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff.
So actually, the Camino is also known as the Way of St. James because the point of the pilgrimage is to reach the church where the remains of St. James is. Mm-hmm. Something that a lot of people do. Apparently, stats say about 200,000 people a year do it now.
And so it's mainly a coastal walk, is that right?
No, it's actually, it depends which walk you're talking about.
I don't know.
There are many walks. The famous one is from France to across west to the top of Spain. Mm-hmm. But of course there are other ones as well that go in all sorts of directions. So traditionally you go from your homeland, wherever that may be, and you go to the Santiago de Compostela. And
so there's a real sense of pilgrimage. So it's just getting to that location, you can go wherever you want.
So you want to go from Madrid, you want to go from Valencia.
So how do you decide which one you do that you want to go
Yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you. How would you decide to go about picking up a trail? There's websites out there now.
Well, if I had the choice to go via inland or go via the coast, I'm going by the coast. Tell you that.
Yeah. Well, my friend did 3 trails, and she liked the one that was across land from France, and also the one through Portugal. I'm just looking at a map, and I noticed there's one from Sevilla.
Mm.
And we've been to Sevilla. What are your memories of Sevilla?
Sevilla, I remember oranges in the trees walking down the street. That was quite
and there was
nice.
Quite a park that was quite nice in the city.
Yep, nice urban space. I remember an awesome solar farm that we went to.
Yep.
I don't know why exactly we went to a solar farm, but it was...
Do you remember going out to a famous nightclub there?
I do.
Name of the nightclub?
It was called...
Bundelay.
Bundelay. You had to give me a second on that, because I recently remembered that with a student. I told you that in school.
Yeah, so we went out for a good night, and it was the first time I'd ever been served more spirit than anything else in the cocktail.
Yeah.
They were very, very generous with the shots.
I remember that place quite fondly. It was a pretty nice joint. What sort of music did they have there? Do you remember? It was kind of like...
I don't remember, but the most interesting thing about that night was trying to get home.
That was fantastic.
It was about an hour to where we were staying from Bundelay in the city, in the middle of Sevilla.
How did we get out there? Did your mate drop us off in the city?
Yeah.
Yeah,
our mate dropped us
he
off.
Just dropped us off on the main street city. Bundelay's just in there.
That's right. So we had a good time. Then we hailed a taxi, and the taxi dropped us off in a suburban area where every street looked the same as another street.
Because we knew the general vicinity of where we were, but we didn't actually have an address. So I guess we had to suburb. We couldn't see anything that actually looked familiar, I think. Wasn't that it?
That's right. Nothing looked familiar. When he dropped us off, we thought we were at the right street, and then we realised we weren't at the right street.
Yeah. As, I don't know, sometimes happens in life, I guess, like, I just sort of felt that a particular way was better to go, I used to call it Zen driving when I was in a car.
There was a magnetic pull that made you basically go towards a certain street.
Yeah, where we just gravitated towards it. Yeah.
Happened to be the right street.
Well, it was weird because there was one point where, like, literally you're looking around and everything looks the same and everything looks unfamiliar. And then suddenly we walk for a block or two and then we look at something and we're like, hang on, I'm pretty sure that's the corner that we, blah, 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 saw when we left the house or something. And it turned out that it was.
That leads me to think about another topic. Food. So you have a particular interest in
in Spanish?
In Spanish food, and in particular one dish.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I guess like most people, if I asked you, I mean, if you think of food and you think of Spain, what do you think of?
I think of, I guess, tapas. And
is that tapas or tapas?
Yeah, that's right. And paella.
Paella. I don't know if you know, but it's one of those dishes that I adore. And I think
you cook.
And I love cooking it.
Cooked it recently at a campfire. In fact.
I did. I cook it it's my go-to dish of the past few years. That, if I don't know what to cook, I think that's a good option.
When you want to share your cooking with friends. It's a generous portion is.
That's right.
Is made and
or if you want to melt a few hearts, it's a good way to do it.
That's great. And you've done this a few times, this dish, and something we always talk about is the base.
Yeah, well, see
Spanish name for that crunchy base is
the socera.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how you exactly pronounce it, but socera sounds about right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the delicious crunchy base. What else do you know about paella? You seem to know a fair bit.
I know that.
Do you know the other pronunciations of paella?
There's a few other ones, yes.
What are the common ones that you hear?
Well, a lot of people pronounce the L's that are spelt in the word, but that's more, I guess, English.
It's a very westernized sort of pronunciation of it.
English pronunciation. But the original is in the Catalan and in Spanish. They both have variants of the vowels.
Yeah, well, normally when you have those two L's, you've got that Y sort of sound in English, so it's that paella, is how you'd say it. I remember I used to ask all my students, anyone who spoke Spanish, Portuguese, or anything related to it, I'd always write it on the board and I'd say, how do you say this?
Yeah. And what came back to you?
Well, a lot of them would say, most of them, probably 89% would say paella. But anyway, so with paella, yeah, okay. So what else do you know about paella?
I think it goes back to Valencia in Spain.
That's right. So I'm glad you knew that. I mean, we spoke about the socarat before, and that crispy, delicious caramelized base, and not all paellas had this,
No.
and it's something that's in particular, I believe, characteristic of the Valencian region, and they did tend to come up with it. But what was
firstly, do we both enjoy the crunchy base more?
Oh, of
version?
course.
Okay, definitely. Now,
I remember being bitterly disappointed, and you probably remember me doing
yeah,
this.
we experimented.
Around.
We experimented in Spain.
Yeah, because we would hunt around Spain, and anytime we'd see paella, we go, oh yeah, for sure, give us that. We'll try it out.
Yeah.
And bitterly disappointed. Like, they weren't terrible,
They were
but they certainly weren't good.
Yeah,
like,
they were tasty dishes, but they weren't with the crunchy base. So my next question really is it a legitimate paella without the crunchy base?
I think the answer is yes, but I think it's regional,
I think
like
so
now.
too.
And I think you got to remember, paella's evolved a lot, right?
What are your favourite elements when you make paella?
I think there's a few crucial elements that need to exist. That if you're going to make a
Just
good
for you,
paella,
right?
yeah.
Just for you.
Well, I think one of the things is the main thing. This is the number one always. Is going to be the sofrito.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the sofrito before?
Yeah, that is the base of like usually onion, carrot, and celery, something like that. The vegetable base.
That's right. So onion, carrot, celery. You can put in capsicum, that sort of stuff. But again, it's that flavor base. So you cook it for a really long time on a really low heat. You just develop these insane rich flavors.
Yeah.
Every paella needs to have that. It needs to start with that, because unless you have that, you don't have the depth of flavor.
Yeah.
And that's obviously where you start putting your spices in and really developing that as well. So that's super important. But the other really important thing people forget is, and I only had this recently, is actually the pan. The pan's pretty important because...
It's crucial, right?
So, paella pans. What do you know about paella pans?
Should be wide and like for a pizza, that kind of diameter.
So that's the normal sort of base variety of them.
Yeah.
So wide, shallow, usually sloped edges, and also they can be made from a few different things. They can be made from like carbon steel, kind of like the old woks that we used to have at home. Or they often come with enamel as well. So the ones we've got at the moment are enamel. And the most important thing you have with the paella pan is they can't be too thick. So one of these things that...
Otherwise you won't get a cook through.
Well, it's historical. So this comes from the idea that when they used to make fires, right, in Spain, they didn't actually have big logs around. They had a lot of, especially in the fields and stuff. If you imagine, the early workers and stuff, all they could have is kindling, essentially. So they could have a quick fire that was quite hot, but they couldn't have a long-standing fire with coals and that sort of stuff. The other thing you've probably heard about paella as well is that if you want to feed more people, you just have a larger diameter pan.
Yeah.
You don't need more pans. You just need a larger diameter one, right?
Okay.
So if you're feeding 12 people, you just have a really big, maybe 2 foot or 3 foot diameter pan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this is originally all done out in the field, outdoors. It's something that's done on a Sunday usually, in Spain, and it's very obviously very communal atmosphere.
Have you added any personal touches though that you like?
There's two things that I like to do personally. One is I do like to put in lots of different types of paprika. Some people just like a certain type, but I like putting in smoky, sweet, and a bit of hot. I put in everything. But the second one is...
Flavor range through the paprika.
Yeah. Well, each paprika has a little bit different sort of note to it, so it's kind of nice. But the other thing that I really like to do is, as far as stock goes, I really like cooking up a really nice prawn stock. So, I usually like putting fresh prawns in the paella. And so I would normally rip off all the heads, get all the legs and stuff, and then I'll fry that up in a pan and make a really, really nice stock with it over a couple of hours. You probably don't really like it because it smells like the house.
So you lean towards a seafood base, seafood content for a
I think it lends itself pretty well to it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having chicken and pork ones and that sort of stuff, but I think that idea of, you look at where Valencia is on the Spanish coast, and it's near the ocean. It originated there. It had as I said, otter in it. It makes sense to me to sort of respect that tradition. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you can't go rogue. Yeah. But that's what I prefer.
So any final comments on the paella before we move on to the next segment?
No. Like you said, basically, if anyone's out there looking for how to make a paella, you're only going to focus on those three things that we spoke about: socarat, the sofrito, and don't stir it. That's it.
Well,
all right.
So that's pretty good. That that covers off our food segment.
Yeah.
And
now I hear you've discovered something recently that you want to share with me and the world.
Yeah, well, that's why Odd Things is the name of this segment,
Okay.
because odd things come up in life, and I feel that this is a big discovery on my part, because I just recently washed a whole batch of socks,
Okay.
and all the elastic around the ankle, I noticed it was a bit loose, a bit damaged, and I thought, how do we solve this? So,
are these some socks you have here? Are they damaged or are they?
No, the socks I have in hand now are not damaged, but it's just a prop for you to see. And anyway, so the thing is that often elastic's damaged, and it's because we all do the military method. We roll the sock up, or the pair of, the pair, and we roll the top, the ankle elastic over the whole unit, and it becomes a little ball.
So do you have verification that's a military method, or is that your...
Seems to come up in YouTube that way.
Okay.
And then there's other methods where literally you just roll it very tightly, but of course when someone's rummaging through a drawer, it'll come apart.
But anyway, that's okay.
Anyway.
Let's go to the next...
Now this is the revolution, and this is from a YouTube video I saw by Clara Eggleston. She even claims she doesn't claim the copyright, nor do I.
So where's this from?
No one knows where it originates
It's an
from.
ancient technique.
But this is incredible. I mean, look, this video I saw was viewed 7 million times on YouTube.
Okay.
So
Does it have a name?
here's how it goes. You lay down one sock on a surface, then you lay down the other sock. However, the sock on top is in a way perpendicular to it. So you're forming a crucifix, if you like. The bottom sock, you fold in the open end, then you fold in, with the bottom sock, the toe end, and it inserts into that opening. Now you've created a little band around the sock. Now with the remaining sock, you repeat the process. And what happens now, you end up with a square little package that's as neat as a handkerchief folded up.
It's quite nice.
It's really economical. It doesn't damage the ankle. Elastic, and I believe it's a revolution. And this is why I'm going to fold socks in the future.
I quite like it. Have you tried this with a longer sock or with a thicker sock?
I have yet to do that. However, when you look at some of the comments under this person's YouTube video, there's a bit of vitriol about the time and patience this perhaps requires.
Do you think it takes longer?
Well, in my mind's eye, it's better in the long run for the health of the sock.
Yeah,
so,
but even like disregarding the health of the sock, I don't think like what you just showed me doesn't look like it took that long.
No,
I mean,
it was pretty quick.
Okay, so how long have you been doing this for?
Just today.
Just today.
I've just started. So, let's talk about learning now, perhaps. Now, recently, you just changed jobs.
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah, you changed jobs and you relinquished being your post as a teacher. And you've taken up a job as.
Yeah, so now I'm director of customer satisfaction at an electric skateboard company. Yeah, it's been going for 3 weeks now. So I was teaching for about 3 years, and then I got this massive opportunity to join this company. Basically a job where my role is to communicate with people in a face-to-face sort of way, for anywhere from 3 to 6 hours a day, and obviously working in a school in the city of Sydney, to working at home on my own sort of schedule, still communicating with people, but basically through either remote, sort of programs such as Skype or whatever, or via text communication, via emails and sort of stuff. So it's been a pretty massive transition from, just in terms of how this segment is about learning, so I guess we can focus on that part of it, but whereas teaching, you kind of... I noticed over 3 years, very distinct patterns of how things changed, jumping straight into schools, which a lot of teachers do. And then, you spend 6 months or so in the sort of very sink or swim type of environment where you just basically do your best. And, some of it's good, some of it's not so good. But then every sort of, I felt anyway, every 6 months or so, you'd feel these kind of rather large jumps in terms of either, what you become more comfortable with in terms of maybe handling a noisy classroom or a disruptive classroom, or working out how to teach something to someone, or, that sort of stuff. That stuff evolves quite quickly, I think. And then once you start learning some stuff, it's like a really nice snowball effect, I think, where when I left, literally only 3 weeks ago, but when I left, I felt in a really nice spot in terms of not knowing everything, but being definitely being a very effective communicator and a very
skill set that you've gotten under your belt.
Yeah, like teacher, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's I mean, you've been learning a language recently, right?
Yeah, yeah, I have. Topic of learning language. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that in another at another point in time.
Two brothers at a microphone. Till next time.